Hey guys, today I'm back to talk about some books, movies and TV shows. And I'm going to start off with the books that I've read in August. So the first couple of books I wanted to share with you are these. This is a series by Stan Nicholson, and I always forget the English titles, to be honest, but it's 3 books, and this was a reread for me. This is one of my favorite series of all time. So the first book is this one. It's called Der Windsänger in German, and the original title is The Windsinger. So this is a children's book, I would say. So the characters in this book are quite young, and there's just not much like any graphic content, something like that. There is no love story in there, not really, and there's not really any gore, or maybe a little bit at the end, but it's basically more like a children's book. And this is about a fantasy world, about a city called Aramanth. I don't know how you would say that. But it's about 2 children, Bo and Cass, and their siblings, so brother and sister, and they can talk to each other in their minds. And they have to go on this big mystery to find the voice of the wind singer, which is like a tower. And when you put that little metal voice in there, it sings and it makes people happy. So there's this big and bad god called the Morda, something like that, and he stole that voice and they have to get it back. So this is one of my favorite books of all time. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars again. It's just such a lovely story because it's not just an adventure, it's not just that, but it explores the concept of a society that is all about performance and achievement, I would say. So in this world, in this city, everyone has a place in this society and it's always connected to his or her achievements. And if you do bad in the big tests, then you are in the lower end of the society. And if you do very good, you're at the higher end of the society. And there's all these different districts, like an orange one, a brown one, and a white one, and they all have different meaning. So it's a very interesting concept, and it just shows the flaws of such a society and how if you just keep going with it, one day it will all fall apart and it will make people so unhappy and anxious. And I feel like this is something that we can very well connect to, because that's actually what our world is all about. Like, if you don't achieve anything, you're nobody and you don't deserve anything. And yeah, I think that is very well explored in this book. So it's not just a children's book, it's very educational as well. The second book is called Gefangene des Maestas in German. The English title is Slaves of the Mastery. So this book takes place a couple of years later. So Bo and Cass are both teenagers, so this is more like a young adult book, I would say. So you don't, like, this story is completed and this book just opens a new storyline that has still something to do with the first one. But in this book, there is this kind of hostile society that sends an army to take down Aramanth, the city that we got to know in the first book. And so all the people that live there are forced into slavery, they're taken, but Cass can escape that. And this is all about this other society that is very rich, very beautiful, super fascinating. It's like the perfect society, but it all comes down to one man, because all the people in this society are slaves to this one man. And he has a very cruel method to make sure that all the people do what he wants, but he's also a very wise man and a very knowledgeable man. I don't know how to say that. He thinks he's just the right man to do this, and that his wisdom makes him the perfect leader, and therefore he can just be, you know, the leader of all these people, all these slaves. And actually the society that comes from that is perfect in like any way. Like the people are happy, but they're not free. And that is also a very interesting aspect, because again, we're not only getting a big adventure, because we're getting that as well, we're getting great new characters and everything you want in a book like that, but again, we're exploring a kind of society that we could live in, possibly, and we see the good and the bad sides of it. And so I feel like nowadays we all believe that the only right way to live is the way we live, and that's not true. Like, I don't think the way our society works is any better than any other way. And I think that these books kind of remind us that there is more, and that there is disadvantages and advantages for any society type. And that's what I love about these books so much. So you can really reflect on that, but still you get a lot of adventure. We follow Cass, who is trying to free her people and that were abducted, and she's trying to follow them, and on her way she meets a new character, which is a princess who is supposed to marry this like this other prince, and she's never seen him before. Nobody actually has ever seen her before, because she's so beautiful that her parents, the king and the queen of this like Indian type country, they forbid anyone to see her. So she always has to wear some kind of a veil so no one can see her, and Cass accidentally sees her, and actually she has to be killed. But then the princess decides just to keep her as a friend and a, I don't know how to say, like someone to take care of all her stuff and stuff like that. So it's a really big adventure. We get this huge thing in the end, like a huge breakdown of this whole system, obviously, and we get to know more about Bo as well, because he's not like the normal child. They're both not, as I said, they can talk in their minds when they're close together. So there is something with them, something that makes them different, and we get this kind of the chosen one thing, but it's explored a lot more in the next book, which is Das Lied des Feuers. I think it's called Fire Song in English. Yeah. And this is the last book, so these two books belong together. It's hard to read one without the other, and we just follow the people of Cass and Bo after they freed them. This is a little spoiler, but it's only a little spoiler because you can totally see that this is going to happen. And they decide to go on this huge march to find their new home country or like nation or whatever. So their mother is actually a seer, and she sees where this new home would be, and so they start off to find this because there's actually some kind of an apocalypse happening, and the seer mother can see that, and Bo and Cass play a huge role in this whole apocalypse thing, and it's just so well done. I love this book so much again. I think the first and the last book are my favorite, but then I love them all and I give them all 5 stars. So you have to read them all, basically. This is just perfect. It's just so perfect. I really don't want to spoil anything about this book because I think it's just so well done that you can't really say anything about it without giving too much away. But these are just the most amazing books, and if you have never heard about them, just go and pick them up. They're so fantastic. The next book I read was a library book, and that is The Catcher in the Rye. I have been intrigued by this book because I heard many people compare it to Perks of Being a Wallflower. So if you don't know anything about me, Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my all-time favorite books because I just connected on so many levels. I just love it so much. So I was expecting to be blown away, by The Catcher in the Rye, and unfortunately I did not enjoy it too much. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but I felt like the storyline was really pointless. It's about this guy called Holden Caulfield, and he decides to leave school early before the winter break just because he got thrown out of school again. And so we just follow him through a couple of days in New York where he's kind of trying to find himself or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know what he's doing. Like, I don't know. But he's just super frustrating because he hates the whole world. And I have to be honest, I just hate it when people hate something. And if they say, oh, I hate that, it's just... that's just such a big pet peeve for me, because hate is such a strong word. You don't hate most things, you may dislike them, but you don't hate, and you don't hate people. And he basically, with every character he mentions in this book, he says something like, oh, I hate her so much, but he doesn't even mean it. Like, these people are people he wants to be around or not, and so he was so annoying. He had a huge problem with himself and just projected that onto everyone else, and that just didn't work for me. I'm just way too old to read about stuff like that. Maybe I would have enjoyed it a bit more if I was younger, but it was just pathetic. And yeah, he's just a douche, and he has to just, you know, get over it and be a normal human being. So unfortunately, this book had nothing to do with Perks of Being a Wallflower and was just a little bit weird. And I disliked the writing style just because there were so many words that I just dislike, like hate. Yeah, so it just wasn't something for me, unfortunately. And then the next book is also a library book. I just got the first book here because I read the second trilogy of the Orcs books by Stan Nichols. So his name, oh, it's not Stan Nicholson, I was wrong. It's William Nicholson. That is super confusing. Sorry. But yeah, that is Stan Nichols. And yeah, he wrote 2 trilogies about orcs, and I read the second one now. Don't remember the English titles, but I'm sure you will find it if you just look it up, because the titles are a little bit weird. I gave this whole collection 3 stars as well. I have to say I like the first book in that trilogy the most, so I would probably give that like 3.5 or 4 stars. I disliked the second book, and the third book I was just really ready to be done with. So this trilogy, it was okay. I really enjoyed seeing all the characters again, because this is a book that, or a series that I started in my teenage years. I reread the first trilogy a couple of months back, so I still remembered all the characters, and yeah, it was just nice seeing them and seeing how they ended up a couple of months or years later. Especially Quila, I don't know how to say her name, but the female orc that is in this whole series. She's such a cool character. I just really love her, and she has a major plotline in this new trilogy, which I liked. But yeah, the end was a little bit weird. Like, you have this huge build-up, and then it's just over. Like, there's this final scene, like, I mean, these books, they're just full of battles and anything like that. Fights, weapons, what you would imagine if you read a book about orcs. But this final, like, battle scene just was so unimportant compared to the rest. And then it was just over, and it was all so simple. And you're like, wow, I just read 3 books about this? And yeah, that was kind of frustrating. So I have to say I prefer the first trilogy a lot. Like, the second trilogy, it has so many repetitions, like so many things happened before, and then there's this whole like traveling between dimensions thing, so you can get from one world to the other one, which is already in the first trilogy, like right at the end. But in this new trilogy you get that explored a lot more, but there is this huge pointless like hunt where they're just skipping from one world to the other. and you're just like, well, I understood that the author had the urge to show me how many worlds he can come up with, but it was just so pointless. It was so pointless, and I just wanted it to be over. It was really frustrating. And then also, like, in this first book, we get to a new world, and in that world, the humans kind of got the orcs to be their slaves. And obviously that's not how things are supposed to be, because orcs are this huge, like, warrior race. So yeah, our orcs that we know from before, they decide to help them just start a revolution and freeing their people and stuff like that, and fighting against the humans. And the humans are always the bad ones, just to say that. And so in the second book, they get to a new world where the same exact thing happens with dwarfs. Like the whole storyline, it was all the same again and again and again, and then this huge, like, hunt thing at the end. It was just so boring, and I was so happy when I was done with it. So I would say, if you're interested in this, read the first trilogy, and if you really loved that, maybe give the second one a try. Okay, so that was all the books I wanted to talk about before this video gets way too long. I just wanted to tell you, currently I'm reading the Shadowhunter books, so the City of Glass, stuff like that, and I can't wait to talk about these in the next wrap-up. Also, I started watching the TV series for that, and honestly, I'm surprised. But I will talk about that next month. Right now we're watching Suits as a TV series, and I love it so much. Like, I didn't expect to love it so much, but it's really, really good. And if you haven't seen Suits before, you're kind of interested in, like, lawyers, but it's not so important what their job is, to be honest. It's all about, like, the different characters, how they interact with each other. I can't talk anymore. But yeah, it's just perfect. I love Donna. Like, Donna is perfect. Like, she's just perfect. But yeah, all the other characters are super fun as well. We're currently in the 3rd season, so we have one more on Netflix to watch. And then we will probably get into our autumn TV shows, which I can't wait. I know that the Stranger Things have been everywhere, and I haven't seen it yet, and it's so frustrating. So I think the first thing I want to see after Suits is the Stranger Things. For movies, I went to see Me Before You with my mum, and that was really nice. I didn't expect to like this movie at all, but it was okay. It was a bit funnier than I thought it would be. The end was a little bit too much for me, to be honest. I just don't like the whole topic. Like, this is something I stay away from, like love stories with this kind of, like The Fault in Our Stars, where you know from the beginning what is going to happen in the end. Like, I just don't like these, because honestly, I think they're just dramatizing something that is already very dramatic. So yeah, those are just not my cup of tea. But as I said, I like the movie more than I thought I would. I didn't love it, but I like the male actor, which I names and stuff, but you know, Finnick. I just love him so much, and I think I would watch his next movie as well, just because he's in it. Other than that, we watched Pets. Pets was super cute, but I just expected a little bit more from it. It just wasn't like a good story, I think, because I really liked Inside Out, I really liked Zootopia, and I think both had this kind of heart-wrenching just feelings thing. Pets doesn't have that, it's just cute and funny. So it wasn't as good as I hoped it to be, but it was still good. So I think I haven't seen anything else lately. I would love to hear what you read and watched recently. I hope this video isn't too long, but honestly, who cares? And have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!